My
No
brief
problem.
reaction to this is to Robert is I the first one of the first things I saw was the green thing and the chameleon. Then I saw this terrible, horrible. I mean, as from a founder perspective, it broke my heart. Twitter space where everybody was jumping on him and trying to rip him apart, and he just provided technical ideas, and the community just it was terrible from a founder's perspective. But ever since, I think he has proven that he really knows what he's doing, and is building bit by bit and progressing. And if you're in this Discord server, you just see things happening. And I was I was a critique in the beginning, skeptical. And then we had an interview, and I was exceptionally surprised by the way how Robert is arguing. He's never how you call that, running away from a discussion. So huge kudos to you, Robert, on this one. That's a very strong foundation. And yeah, you definitely should have a chat on this one. And Robert, um, maybe you want to start with Mint and then get into that, and let's see what's happened.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for the kind words, Marcus. Yeah, I think we had kind of a rough introduction to the Cardano community, and I think there are a lot of different factors contributing to that. But yeah, the community came in very heated because we launched some very disruptive features that a lot of people just have considered not possible on Cardano, and really want to challenge the status quo of what are the capabilities of this EUTXO model. And I think naturally in crypto, you have this tribalism that like people have their bags and then they get jealous of this new token that was pumping. And so we just had this FUD campaign and just crashed the token. It's like no reason, just community just being tribalistic. It was quite an experience, but I think we've kind of moved past that for now. So to introduce Mint, so been working on this since last year, and my background is really focused on synthetic assets and connecting the crypto world to the real world. So I've been involved in crypto since 2013, and I got really fascinated when CryptoKitties launched on Ethereum because I saw the potential for an NFT, this really weird concept at the time, but an NFT that could represent something tangible that is not just purely speculative. And so since then, I've been working a lot with stablecoins. I've helped a lot of stablecoins kind of get to market on Cardano. And we have launched our own stablecoin in December called MyUSD. And currently it's the third largest stablecoin for Cardano by TVL. And where we're really focusing and differentiating ourselves is on the stability of the peg. So we have several mechanisms in place to make sure that that peg is reliable, regardless of if there's high liquidity or low liquidity. And it kind of worked in our favor to have all this FUD early on, because in part we wanted to test, can a stable coin that we've designed be stable when everyone hates us, when everyone has trust issues? And the answer to that is yes. So now we have a lot more trust in the stablecoin, and we're starting to grow its liquidity. And the longer term focus of Mint is with the cross-chain interoperability. So what I really wanted to bring to Cardano is this interoperability so that we can take advantage of Cardano's core features of security and decentralization, but then not miss out on the features that other blockchains provide us. So if you want to use some particular subset of DeFi protocols on different blockchain, then you should have that freedom. But you might not want to put your life savings there. You can keep your life savings on Cardano, rely on that security that Cardano gives you, and then you can go back and forth between the two. So we launched our first cross-chain stable swap around mid last year, and we're expanding to support more networks. By the end of this year, we hope to have at least half a dozen. We'll see how far we get through the roadmap. But we really want to make Mint the interoperability hub for Cardano. So if you have tokens on Cardano, you have now the mechanism to transfer those tokens to other blockchains, and also vice versa. So a lot of our users are bringing in liquidity into the Cardano ecosystem. So if you have USDT or USDC, you can just swap that for MyUSD on Cardano, and now you have a reliable stablecoin that is one-to-one valued for these other stablecoins on different networks. So that kind of gives you, a bit of a brief introduction. So I'd be happy to talk more with your project, Andrea, because there's a lot of potential. But I think similar to Mehen, the struggle that we're having at the moment is just liquidity. The more awareness these projects get, the more users can get attracted to these new opportunities, the more these stablecoins can really blossom. And so we hope for the success of Mehen, of Indigo, of Butane. They're launching a stablecoin, hopefully in a couple of months now. The more stablecoins we have on Cardano, the better. And we do want to integrate all of these with our stable swap. So our stable swap will be launching hopefully by the end of this month. And this will allow you to swap stablecoins within the Cardano ecosystem and then swap those stablecoins for outside the Cardano ecosystem. So we're very excited for this new wave of potential to bring in liquidity into the ecosystem.
Very cool. You just mentioned the different kind of stable coins, and I think yesterday was a Charles space, a long one, where he also mentioned that if we can onboard, I hope I can get it together. If we onboard USDT and USDC, that brings some sort of a danger to the ecosystem, because if they would basically pull out, the domination of them would be so big that they could destabilize the system. Do you see it the same way?
I have my concerns with these centralized entities. The main criticism I have is the community's fixation that these centralized entities are really going to save us. And I don't see it like that. I If Circle had come to Cardano, it would have made our life a lot easier. So MyUSD was originally on our roadmap for launching later in 2024, but because there was a lack of stablecoins available for Cardano, we had to speed things up, and we had to take a few shortcuts to kind of get the stablecoin out. So it's not as decentralized as we want it to be. So we will work on further decentralizing that. But in the end, USDT, USDC, these will be positives for Cardano, but they're not going to save Cardano. Not that I think Cardano needs saving, but a lot of people have this mentality. We're seeing them this mentality that is going to cause Cardano to have this influx of liquidity. And I just don't see that happening, because we've already launched stablecoins on Cardano since 2022. We have IUSD, we have JED, now we have Mehen. And what we're seeing is that just because you have a stablecoin doesn't mean automatically that people are going to use it. Unfortunately, Cardano is just lacking some utility, for some uniqueness to really attract in the masses. So Cardano has a very vibrant community, but that community is really segregated. It's really isolated from the greater crypto community. And so if we did bring on USDC, that would be great, but it's probably not going to be as big of an advance as people think it would be. But then what we have seen on other chains, and I think to Charles's point, is that these stablecoins have had a lot of power. They can effectively control Ethereum's network just in the direction of the fork. If Ethereum forks, then everyone in the ecosystem has to choose a side because you're going to move your liquidity to the fork that you believe in the most. And yeah, with USDT and USDC having such strong positions in those ecosystems, they effectively dominate the consensus. Now, if they do come over to Cardano, I don't believe they would have that same stronghold effect. Probably over time they would start to gain some domination, but the key difference is that Cardano is already established without stablecoins. Until very recently, we were top 10, and we'll probably get back to top 10 pretty soon. But we got there without stablecoins. And so that's not the case with Ethereum. With Ethereum, if you look at Uniswap and all these other prominent dexes, their liquidity is denominated not in ETH, but in USDT and USDC. So we will have some effects. So if USDC comes to Cardano, you'll start to see some pools being denominated in USDC, but the overwhelming majority of pools are denominated in ADA. So that means that the community still has the control. So if Cardano does do a fork and Circle's like, hey, we vote for this version, because they don't have this, because they wouldn't have the same amount of dominance, they wouldn't have the same amount of power that they would have on a chain such as Ethereum. So I think they do bring some other risk, especially if they want to implement some of the technical changes that they want. So I've been in discussion with Circle and Tether, and they're very tough negotiators, but they want basically to maintain custody. They don't want the users to maintain custody of assets. They need to maintain control. And so that's like a philosophical difference between the design of Cardano and then the design of other blockchains. And if they are successful, they might want to implement some technical changes, and those technical changes could be irreversible for Cardano. But if they come to Cardano on our terms, then I think they would not have the same amount of power as they have on other chains.
And especially if we already have strong coins, then
Exactly.
the competition would be in a way that you could say, yeah, we don't need you.
Yeah, I see it as beneficial, right? So even though that we have our own stablecoin, and so that could be, detrimental to me as a founder, but as a community member, and this is ultimately where we're all coming from as community, uh, this competition, it makes us strive to be better. So if USDC comes to Cardano suddenly, then we have to up our game. I believe that my USD is superior. It's a better alternative, but we will have to start to compete with that market share. And so what does that lead? It leads to us pushing out more innovation, more features, more security, and more marketing to promote, what is our differentiating factor. So I think it can only lead to positivity.
I want to play devil's advocate here. Yours is algorithmic, I would say.
It's a mix, but yeah, go on.
Um, and if I want to say, but I want to have a fiat-backed stablecoin is much better. Um, is having two or three different uh stablecoins on the change just for the sake of the competition towards outsiders or expected new entrants a better argument, or is there also another argument where you would say I favor one over the other?
Yeah, I think that's a great question to ponder. Um, so from today's perspective, I think it would be problematic it is problematic to have all these stable coins just for the simple fact that there's limited liquidity. But I don't believe that's always going to be the case for Cardano. I think the ecosystem is going to grow and there's going to be room for all of us. So as we've seen on Ethereum and these other blockchains, there are competing stablecoins. There are stablecoins that are successful that a lot of people have never heard of, and they still have their own vibrant, thriving communities. And so today, we're all struggling because we're all competing out of this very small pie. And so I think this is what tends to lead to this like intra-fighting and tribalism where people think, oh, it's a mint versus Mehan versus Indigo. That's not really the case, but that's how people view it just because the pie is so small. And when the pie is so small, we are in effect competing against each other. But that's not going to be the long-term play. Like longer term, that pie is going to grow, and then we're all going to get slices of that pie. And so we should grow with the ecosystem. And ultimately, we want to have options for users. So if people want that fiat redeemability, then they should go with a fiat redeemable stablecoin. But on the contrary, so where I'll push back on this fiat redeemability is that these stablecoins, USDC, USDT, TUSD, USDP, all these fiat-backed stablecoins, they're not designed for you and me. They are designed for institutions. So what do we mean by this? So say if I want to mint USDT, how do I do it? I can't. Like I have to set up a corporate entity. I have to do very diligent KYC. I have to submit a bunch of paperwork. I have to set up an offshore bank account, and then I have to talk with banks. And then I think the minimum is something crazy high, and then I can go and mint it. And that's not for you and me. That's for the institutions. And this is where Mehan is really trying to set themselves apart, and I commend them for that. I am concerned about whether that's going to be successful long term. Like I think we have seen that they're struggling on the regulatory landscape because it's really hard to cater to the little people. It's much easier to make a fiat stablecoin that tailors to the institutions, because if you have like 3 customers, that's a lot easier to manage than to have 1,000 customers of all the little guys. And so that's where I see that we're really going to differentiate. It's like if you want to mint a stablecoin and participate in the arbitrage and potentially make your own trading strategies, you have that opportunity. Whereas USDT, USDC, you don't have that opportunity. Maybe you can use a third-party exchange like Coinbase or something, but you don't have that same level of access that the institutions have. But with us, with the decentralization, we have no borders, no restrictions. If you want to mint, $100 worth, you can do that. You want to mint $1 million worth, you can do that. We don't really want to put up barriers. So I think all these stablecoins, they offer their own advantages and disadvantages. And for MyUSD specifically, it will benefit us to have more available on Cardano because it gives us more collateral to work with. And then we also make money from the stable swap. So if people are using our stable swap and swapping between all the stable coins, then we collect protocol fees, and then that gets fed back into MyUSD as staking rewards. So I can see that that will only benefit us for the long term. And it's just about giving people options. And so I've always said this is that regardless of whether or not MyUSD is the chosen one for the long term by the market, doesn't really matter to me, because we needed to get a stable coin that's stable to Cardano, because the longer term vision for Mint is to really be that interoperability hub. And so if you have all these other stablecoins on other networks, and then you have stablecoins on Cardano, and you have these completely interoperable with one another, then Mint is going to succeed. So we're not betting everything on just a single stablecoin being successful.
Very good point. Yeah. You couldn't exist without the stable swap in the end then. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we had to launch a stablecoin early, because originally, so the first product that we launched was in April, I think, last year. So I think, yeah, we're actually 1 year old now. So we launched it with iUSD and it was working for the cross-chain stable swap. But unfortunately, they depegged, and our protocol relies on two stable coins. So we need a USDT and that stable coin stable on the other network. And then we need a stable coin on Cardano. And unfortunately, that wasn't stable. And then we were in talks, but we are partners with Mehan, but they delayed their launch. So it's like, okay, we have to push out this faster. We have to make some sacrifices that we weren't necessarily happy with, but we had to do them so that we can have the stable swap actually be deployed. Because without stable coins, you can't have a stable swap.
Yeah, makes sense. Cool. Andrea, do you have questions as a Forex specialist?
I do. I'm very curious. I think Robert said you said that it's a partly algorithmic stablecoin. So could you walk me through the structure of your stablecoin? Because I'm not familiar enough, so I would like to know more, like how the mechanism works. So I guess there's a relationship between another token that you have. That's usually how it works. But could you walk me through it?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So, yeah, I think it's a little bit misleading to think of it as algorithmic. So it's a fully collateralized stablecoin that is backed by other stablecoins. So currently, the backing right now is USDT, USDC, and also we have opened up a JED pool. So it's backed by three different stablecoins. And so to a minter, you just have to deposit one of those stable coins, and then you can mint the supply on Cardano. And the key factor is that because we built the interoperability layer to have the communication between Cardano and the other networks, we have connected with Tron and we have connected with Polygon. So we have USDC on Polygon and we have USDT on Tron. We did have USDC there, but they have discontinued that network. So if you use any of those networks, then you can mint it. For the stability mechanism, what we have implemented on the Cardano side is what we call streaming swaps. And this effectively allows you to introduce new supply of MyUSD by depositing ADA. And so how we have implemented this is you deposit ADA and then it breaks up a large swap into multiple smaller swaps that can essentially be streamed over a period of time. Typically that's like 10 minutes, but it depends on the size of your order, how long that will exactly take. And because our arbitrage is very efficient and works within a matter of minutes, if the ADA order pushes the price of MyUSD slightly above peg, it creates an arbitrage opportunity, which then allows the automated system to mint new supply, push down the price by selling MyUSD on the Cardano dexes. And then that allows the next batch of orders to go through. And so that means if you wanted to do like an order for like $100,000 right now, you could submit that and it would work perfectly through the network. It might take maybe an hour or so for all the liquidity to kind of get through. But it would work because what's happening is you have the ADA and new supply of MyUSD is being minted via the arbitrage that's happening because every time you buy MyUSD, the price is going to be just ever slightly depegging, and then that creates the opportunity to bring in the new supply so that it can restabilize and then continue the cycle.
Very smart. I think Andrea is
It
frozen.
looks frozen, yeah.
Yeah.
Stunned.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, you had I think you explained that to me when I was asking. You had two incidents, right? Hi, Vedran. You had
Hey,
two incidents where
Hi
somebody
guys. Hi
tried.
guys.
Hi, we're just in the middle of the discussion, and You had two incidents where somebody tried to push and drop the price like crazy, and it immediately went back, right? And
Yeah, and that's what I kind of alluding to in the beginning is being in this environment where we were flooded a lot was very helpful. And so we have been encouraging the community to try and attack us, because if you're going to kill us early, so that before we have a ton of customers and we do anything that would be irreversibly damaging to us. So if you want to kill us, try and do it now so that we can we can fix it. And so we did have someone from the community try and attack the protocol. And they was so what happened is they got a large amount of ADA and they made a purchase on the MinSwap DEX, and it pushed the price up to, I believe, $1.12. And then within minutes, the price got back down to a dollar. And then what they then did is like they took that MyUSD and they dumped it again. And so then it pushed down to 92 cents. And then a couple minutes later went back to a dollar. And so that person, we did calculate that they lost quite a bit of money to try and perform that attack. And it was a good illustration to show the resilience that we have kind of designed and built into the system. We wanted to design a stablecoin that is stable no matter the trust. So people would go online and say, "Oh, we don't trust Mint," and that's great because we want you to test it. So like if you don't want to buy it, like okay, that means that there's going to be very limited demand, and so in a limited demand environment, it should still be paid $1. And then we had a surge when our token was pumping. It's like people were really excited about Mint, and then we had a bunch of inflows. And so we have had very volatile days in terms of volume and then very quiet days. And the stability mechanisms that we have designed have proved to be very reliable. So yeah, that I think is very, very good for us.
sounds good. Andrea, did you hear the mechanism description before from
Yeah.
Robert? Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. I think my video froze, but I was listening to everything, so it's very interesting. I was about to ask, how does it work on the Polygon side? Like when you deposit USDC, is there any incentives for liquidity providers over there? How does it work?
Yeah, so currently there's not an incentive because it's just the team. So at a high level, what Mint has built is this peer-to-peer network that allows you to make deals between two different parties. And so when our users conduct a cross-chain swap, what they do is they lock some token in a Cardano smart contract, and then another peer on the other end might want to fulfill that order. And then if that order can be verifiably assured by the Cardano smart contract, then the order is executed and it is finished. So say you deposit some MyUSD into a smart contract and you are requesting USDT, another peer will fill that order for you, and then it gets verified via the network, and then that MyUSD becomes unlocked on the Cardano side. At the moment, we just have the core team being the peers. We are going to be opening up that network in the very near term future, but we're just not there yet on a technology standpoint. So that for MyUSD, there are unfortunately some centralized elements that we are working on fully decentralizing. So we aim to have that mostly done by the end of this year. We have what we've developed called the lizard consensus mechanism. And what this allows is cross-chain communication between Cardano and other networks. So when a mint request comes in from Polygon, for example, that token, say USDC, gets deposited into a wallet, and then the lizard consensus mechanism verifies that, okay, that deposit did happen, those tokens are locked in that address, and that message gets sent onto Cardano, and then the Cardano smart contract can do the validation to say like, okay, that event did actually occur, and that allows the temporary minting of MyUSD. So it opens up a small mint window to allow the MyUSD to be minted. And then it works on the reverse. So if you want to burn the MyUSD, then you will have to burn it, get the smart contract validation, and then the Lizard network will verify that, and then that message gets sent onto the other network, which then allows it to be unlocked.
The Lizard network. That's fine. Love it. Love the idea. Is there I'm not native English speaker. Is there something with Lizard network that is a wordplay or something, or is it just because you like them?
It's because that just has turned into our mascots. So you very early on with our white paper, I did describe this kind of high level concept, but in technical terms. So it was before we had all the branding. So we did do the NFT launch to bootstrap the Mint DAO and the liquidity pool. So we have most of the liquidity for MyUSD has been bootstrapped by the community and funded by the NFT sales. And we hosted a competition for people to submit different ideas for what should be the mascot. And then we brainstormed internally and we came up with this chameleon character that you see on the screen. And when it's not 100% decided that we're going to be calling it the Lizard Network, but that's just what we have settled on internally, and it's catchy. We all seem to like it. So I don't, unless we come up with a better name, it's probably going to stick. But the other thing is that we kind of think of it as, because it's at the core, it's like a gossip protocol. So we like the idea of calling it lizard because now the lizards are all talking with one another. And so they're communicating and keeping it like kind of guardians securing the network. So the team likes it. The community feedback so far has been positive. So it's not 100% set in stone, but yeah, we're very chameleon focused at the moment in Mint. That's been our mascot.